We resume exactly where the previous episode ends. Logically, you'd expect the military to melt every remaining pillar to free Pennywise, yet that never actually happens. Instead, a dense, unnatural fog rolls through Derry slaughterhouses, sparking eerie clown smiles across town as Pennywise quietly slips out of his cage, looking disturbingly healthy. Without delay, he takes over Derry High School, luring the senior class into a surprise assembly and entertaining them by tearing off Principal Dunleavy's head mid-song and dance. With the exits barricaded, he unleashes the deadlights, leaving the students instantly catatonic and floating helplessly in the air. It's clearly meant to be a finale-level spectacle, though the sudden leap in Pennywise's power feels excessive and risks making his later encounters with the Losers Club seem less impressive in hindsight. As he leads the children away like a grotesque Pied Piper, Lily, Ronnie, and Marge discover missing person flyers for their classmates, including Will. Declaring she wants to kill that clown, Marge steals a milk truck and drives her friends straight toward Pennywise's wagon. Meanwhile, the adults, Charlotte, Leroy, Hank, Rose and Daniel, gather at Rose's house for a much-needed explanation. Rose reveals that with the cage open, Pennywise can't be stopped directly, but the dagger can replace the pillar the army destroyed. The plan is simple but urgent. The dagger must be buried in the earth at the deadwood on the river's southern bank, before Pennywise reaches it. Before moving out, needs to use his ship to locate the dagger, but first he must shut out the voices of the dead that have nearly driven him to suicide. To help, Rose brews a special tea using the maturin root, promising it will connect him to the same realm that spawned this evil. Shortly after, takes a brief trip into the macroverse and returns fully healed, now able to see the stolen milk truck carrying Marge, Lily, Ronnie, and the dagger. That journey ends abruptly when the truck hits a pothole, spins out and crashes into a tree. Amazingly, the kids walk away with only minor injuries, impressive for 12-year-olds with no driving experience. The dagger, however, begins affecting Lily, who refuses to let anyone touch it and bolts into the forest when Marge tries to take it. As guides the adults toward the crash site, more exposition explains that the farther the dagger travels from beneath Neibolt House, the more it destabilizes the mind. The glowing runes and corrupting influence make the homage to a certain ring-centric fantasy impossible to miss, though instead of Gollum the kids fight over the blade, break down and reconcile, agreeing to take turns carrying it as they move closer to Pennywise. Soon, they realize they're closer than expected, reaching the frozen riverbank and spotting the circus wagon lights ahead. Lily, Ronnie and Marge step onto the ice, passing long rows of floating children until they see Will hovering just out of reach and try to pull him down. The noise draws Pennywise's attention, and he emerges from the back of the wagon, growling, "Looks like someone's decided to join the circus." Ronnie raises the dagger, holding Pennywise at bay long enough to force him back into the fog, but the distraction allows him to stretch out his arm and grab Marge's leg, yanking her away. Alone with her, Pennywise drops a chilling revelation, wondering aloud how Margaret Tozier might taste, a name Marge doesn't recognize but the audience does. She will grow up to be Margaret Maggie Tozier, Richie's mother. To make the point unmistakable, Pennywise produces another missing person flyer, this one bearing Finn Wolfhard's face, fully aware that killing Marge would prevent Richie from ever being born and erase the Losers Club before it begins. Just as he's about to eat her, he freezes in place. At the same moment, all the children struck by the deadlights, including Will, collapse onto the ice and awaken elsewhere inside Pennywise's mind, where has infiltrated him just as he once did Daniel. Pennywise is trapped, at least temporarily, locked inside a nightmare created where he wakes up in 1908 as Bob Gray, forced to live as a normal human while screaming that he's a god and eater of worlds, deeply humiliating. Back on the river, the parents arrive and reunite with their children. Knowing the dagger will resist them, Leroy and Daniel decide to carry it together toward the deadwood, but they barely move before the military opens fire. Leroy is shot in the leg, Daniel is fatally wounded in the neck, and Shaw orders his men to secure Leroy and locate to stop whatever he's doing to Pennywise. Given everything Shaw has already witnessed, unleashing the creature again feels astonishingly reckless, especially with the fog and frozen river suggesting Pennywise's next move would be apocalyptic. Realizing reason won't work, a wounded Leroy hands the dagger to Will and tells him where to bury it, believing the kids can reach the deadwood without drawing attention. It's a dangerous gamble, but there are no better options, and before they part, father and son share a quiet moment as Leroy tells Will he loves him. Soon after, Shaw confronts the frozen Pennywise, remarking that after all these years of wondering whether he was real or just a boy's nightmare, he's somehow both, an odd statement from a man who invested enormous resources into studying something he supposedly doubted. At that moment, loses his grip on Pennywise, who snaps free, and Shaw's weak reassurance that it's okay and he's free does nothing. Pennywise remembers their encounter in 1908 and promptly eats the general's face. Meanwhile, the kids push toward the deadwood as the dagger fights them every step of the way, and fully awake and freshly fed, Pennywise skips across the ice to stop them. Leroy manages to overpower the soldiers long enough to grab a gun and blows the clown's head off twice, but there's only so much damage you can do to a god. Even when the kids reach the deadwood, they lack the strength to drive the dagger into the ground, and when Pennywise transforms into a massive winged creature, part bird, part bat, part dragon, it feels like the end. Then, unexpectedly, the ghost of Rich appears, a miracle as puts it. With Rich's help, the kids finally plunge the dagger beneath the deadwood, blasting the Pennywise bird back onto the ice in a beam of light. Returning to clown form, Pennywise's face flickers through his past incarnations before erupting in fire and brilliance, the cage reforms and he is sealed away once more, settling into another long sleep. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe and comment.